Hey everybody, it's Friday. I don't even know the date since I haven't been here in so long. What is this, the 6th of May, 2022? Anybody still writing 2021? I almost said it right now, but it is 2022. It's been a while since I've been here. Nice to see everybody again. See a bunch of questions already rolling in, so that's good. This is called an AMA. For people who don't know what that means, that's Ask Me Anything. You ask, I tell. Hopefully my answer makes sense. If it doesn't, sorry, ask again. My name is Kevin Murcko, and I'm CEO here at Coinmetro, if you don't know who I am. And let's get started. So we already got some questions. I also have a cheat sheet today. So I'll be bringing up some topics myself. Some of them look interesting. We'll see how it goes. All right. So this isn't a question at all, but I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Says he has the first comment, which he does. So gold medal to how many digital chickens did you buy from Remo? Nice question. None, actually. I didn't buy any digital chickens. I think it's a pretty cool campaign though. We actually talked about months before that about fundraising with NFTs and spitballed a few ideas. Not saying it was me that brought the idea up, but we definitely spitballed it, and I'm glad that they took it and ran with it and made some digital chickens. So I think it was a really cool campaign. I hope we can see some more, maybe digital cows next. I don't know. I would maybe buy a digital cow. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't know what kind of digital animal I'd like to buy. Maybe a digital giraffe, but I don't think there's any giraffe farms in Estonia. Be really, really pissed off giraffes, I think, if we had a giraffe farm in Estonia. But, so no, I didn't buy any chickens, but I think it's a great idea. You said last stream that Kraken and CM have different clientele. How so? Good question. So I actually can't answer the question. What I'm saying is I've been in different businesses, also owned different businesses in the same sector. And what I can tell you is client bases differ. You may, from a global perspective, you may have a very similar client base. So males 18 to 35 who live in their grandmother's basements, I don't know, whatever, right? So your general subset of clients is similar, but the patterns you see in those clients, deposit patterns, withdrawal patterns, what those clients are looking for, why they are at your business and not someone else's, can vary very differently. For example, a client I'll use Coinbase in this example because it's a more of a contrast. Client at Coinbase may really like Coinbase. That means they're probably not looking for low fees. That means they probably aren't looking for fantastic client support. Maybe they're looking for certain assets, or maybe the liquidity on certain assets, or maybe what they're looking for is just brand recognition. I don't know. But they could be an 18 to 35-year-old male, for example. Now, we also have 18 to 35-year-old males. We got a lot of them. But that specific male isn't with us. Why? Well, because they're not looking for the USPs that we provide. Or maybe they just haven't heard of us yet, whatever. So while our client, like all crypto exchange client bases are going to be similar from a very high level, as you go more granular, they're going to be different. Absolutely. Wow, really, he got in here first and he threw out 3 questions right away. Awesome. Well, 2 questions, 1 question, 3 questions, 2 questions, some questions. The Real Satoshi, Craig Wright, has sued Coinbase and Kraken. Is Coinmetro going to proactively replace the fake Bitcoin with the real Bitcoin? Well, without going into whether Craig Wright is the real Satoshi, he isn't. I do think Craig Wright was around. I don't think Satoshi could be more than one person. It could be a group. Craig Wright was definitely around since the beginning. But Craig Wright, I think, has proven time and time again that he absolutely is not the only or the Satoshi. But let's assume he is. No, we won't be getting rid of the quote-unquote fake Bitcoin, because what is Bitcoin then? Define me what Bitcoin is to define me what a fake Bitcoin and a real Bitcoin is. If we really think about it, and if you ask Roger Ver, he's going to tell you there's another real Bitcoin. It's kind of like saying, let's get rid of all the fake religions. Well, go ahead and try to do that. Figure out which ones may be fake, and then try to tell everybody that's in it, oh, by the way, your God is not the real one. This one is. Let's all go and look at this. Now think of it from a business angle. If you had a business, let's go back to the religion angle because it's a fun one. Not really. Let's say you had a store. Let's say you had a business. Never mind a store. You had a business that catered to Muslims, Christians, and Jews, right? And then someone comes in and says, well, now that we know the Christian God is the real God or the Muslim God is the real God, let's just get rid of all these others. Now, as a business, you make money on all of those, and there's demand for all of them. Why would you get rid of one, regardless of what your own personal opinion was? So no, Craig Wright can come and try to sue Coinmetro. I think that would provide me with hours worth of laughter that I could use in my life. And then, we can debate this, but no, we would not. Even if it was proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that one Bitcoin wasn't the initial or real or whatever Bitcoin, if there's demand for it and there's a utility behind it and people want to trade it and we're making money off of people trading it, and there isn't any glaring, absolutely proven reason to delist it, meaning we find out the Bitcoin Foundation has been, funneling money to North Korean missile silos or something. Anybody who's watched the show, by the way, for a few years would get a kick out of that one. But then, we wouldn't. It wouldn't make any sense. Hi, Kevin. Hope you're doing well despite the awful market currently. Thanks, Michael. Do you think this is the final capitulation or just another leg down to even lower prices? What is your outlook on the market? Well, I think the market's confused. We had this rate point hike from the U.S., which historically speaking should mean that people are pushed to become savers, right? What happens from a central bank perspective? Central banks have two buttons, right? They have like the oh shit button and the oh shit button, right? And one of them raises interest rates, the other one lowers them. That's about it. That's it. Then they come out with their rhetoric, and basically what they say is more important than what they do. So you now have in the U.S., for example, since we're talking about the Fed raising interest rates, you have a statement of what, 8.5% inflation, which I don't know where they're getting that number. I think that's inflation like on cotton balls or Q-tips or, I don't know, toilet tissue. But it's definitely not inflation on most things that people use on a daily basis, like energy, like gas, like oil, natural gas, food, wheat, etc. Those things have extremely higher inflation tied to them than 8.5%. But let's assume that 8.5% is real. So now, instead of getting 0.4% at your local bank for interest, you might get 1% a year. Wow. So you can take, so what this normally is supposed to push is that savers put money in the bank. So they stop putting money into equities, into investments, and they move their capital into a safe haven, which is the bank. But are you really going to put your money in the bank when you're losing at a minimum 8.5% this year alone and potentially more for the 1% they're going to give you back? Well, you might, but that would probably not make you the smartest person in the world when it comes to what to do with your money. So I think what we're seeing is people trying to understand if our market, crypto, has matured to the point where not only individuals, but institutions are going to decide, hey, wait, maybe putting money into Bitcoin, Ethereum, or whatever cryptocurrency asset or currency makes a lot of sense, considering that historically they've only gone up. And I might not be the only person with this view. And thus, if I do it and other people do it, inevitably they will go up and they're going to beat inflation, where my dollar deposit, my euro deposit is absolutely not going to beat inflation by any stretch of the imagination. And so I think we're at a pretty pivotal point. As far as the global economics go, it's going to be a shit show. Absolutely. I mean, we've seen the tip of the iceberg of the shit show that will come. There will be recessions. There will be inflation that we haven't seen ever, never mind in 40 or 50 years. There'll be inflation that modern markets have never seen in the history of modern markets. We are going to set precedents here that have never happened before. There's nothing really that modern government can do, modern economics can do to kind of stifle what's going to happen. They can try to hide it. They can try to pull it under the rug as much as they can, but it's going to come out. But now we have crypto. We didn't have that in the last super cycle. We didn't have that the last time you saw a major inflation. World War II didn't. They had what do we have in World War II and World War I? We had war bonds. The ability to put money and double your money. I think it was in 7-8 years, something like 5 to 8 years, something like that. So you put up $50 for a war bond, you get 100 back in 8 years. So you can calculate what that is. Even if there was no compounding effect, it's roughly 12.5%, 12.3% each year, right? And lots of people put money in war bonds. Now we have crypto. We don't have war bonds anymore. We have Bitcoin. I think we're gonna be surprised at the effect that what's happening is going to have on crypto. But I do think it's going to be volatile. You're asking if there could be another leg down. Of course there could be. Doesn't matter how good or bad the market is. There can always be another leg down. I would be if I was in a buying position right now. Well, if I was buying right, I shouldn't say in a position. If I was buying right now, I would be staging my buys. I wouldn't be scared to buy at higher prices. I also wouldn't pull myself away to not be ready to buy at lower prices. I think it's all, as it always is in trading, it's about risk management. If you put all your money in now into a leveraged position and you can't handle another 20% to the downside, you have a rather large chance of losing your money. If you're buying at spot, just be patient. Be patient for the price you want, and that price you want should be higher and lower. So Bitcoin, you might be looking at, maybe you think 25K is where Bitcoin's going to be headed. Well, have an order at 25K, but be ready to buy as well at 40K if it breaks certain resistance. And don't be upset regardless of which one gets triggered, because investing isn't about what happens today or tomorrow or in 3 days from now, or the fact that this guy bought lower than you. It's about how much money you make in the end, period. Hey, Kevin, what are your thoughts about Binance receiving a nod from French regulators? This one I like. So Binance, parent company, didn't get any nod from any European regulator. Binance France, which is a new entity that was formed in France with a more than likely completely different management structure, got a nod from France. They have a registration with the French regulator. That would be akin to the same registrations that exist in the UK and that previously existed in Estonia. Now it's a different structure, and by June it's going to be completely different. So you have Binance US, you have Binance UK, you have Binance France. We did have Binance Uganda. You guys remember Binance Uganda? I'm going to say it again. Binance Uganda just has a nice ring to it. So Binance itself got no nod from the French regulator, but a Binance subsidiary did. Now, I normally don't say anything good about Binance, but I'm going to give them a one point in their corner for this one. Since the beginning, Binance was kind of saying that regulation wasn't going to touch crypto, which was insane to me and anybody else that has ever come from traditional or regulated financial markets. But at some point, they got a smart person somewhere in compliance or legal, probably legal, who said, look, we need to start setting up a structure where we insulate the Binance parent. And they started to open up Binance US, Binance UK, Binance Uganda, whatever, Binance France. Smart strategy. It's a strategy that even companies like Coinmetroids will eventually start to use. Because imagine a business where you have clients from 100 countries under one license. That means that one regulator can go after you for every single one of those countries. And since you're not necessarily regulated under that same company in those other countries, they have a pretty good argument. However, if you have all your clients subjugated into buckets underneath a license or a registration in individual countries, it insulates the business. So 1 point for Binance. Of course, my negative points for Binance at this point are like 1.6 million. So, still kind of on the negative side for Binance in my book, but definitely maybe I'd give him 10. I give him 10 points. The structure is good, but don't make a mistake that you think CZ's parent company Binance got a nod from a European regulator. They didn't. Craig Wright isn't Satoshi. He's just a poser. Heard from someone first. When Tram 2.0 currently is second priority in product, actually, after some additional revamps to our onboarding and our ability to onboard automatically and quickly. So it's coming. Also, when IBANs and debit cards, shooting for structure being ready end of Q3, launching in Q4 with IBANs and then subsequently debit cards. That's what we're shooting for. Born, you already got banned multiple times. Now you asking for more. Well, I don't think either of those questions are bannable unless he posted something I can't see, which, probable. General War, take your meds. I don't know who that is, but if you have some meds, maybe you should take them. Hi, Kevin. We miss you. Thank you, Andrew. When KDA bonding? Any dates yet? No dates. No dates as far as, well, we know that the end date currently is going to be in July of the current program. Don't have any information about what happens after that. I will attempt to get some and see if there's any clarity from the KDACAD team, and we'll see next week if we can provide something for you guys. Hey, Kevin. This is from Jens. Can you elaborate a little bit on the private funding round? In what range are we? And what additional will you do with that? Will there be some official announcement? So last part of that question first. Yes, we will make an official announcement when we complete the round. We're talking about roughly 3% of the company inside of that private round. Money was raised. Raising money, usually when you're a growing company, you raise money to get to the next funding round. That's kind of how it works. And so while we still have money in the bank, we want to be able to scale faster our resources Obviously, some of that money is going to go to marketing, but a relatively small percentage of the money raised will go towards marketing between now and the next big fundraise, which will inevitably allow us to do much more marketing and focus on tackling some of our competitors. But it's mostly about scaling the team, starting to go after additional regulations, fixing some of the issues that exist, and then allowing us to scale. Hopefully that's enough information. But yes, there will be an official announcement. Absolutely. Hi, Kevin. Can you have you celebrate Liberation Day in Holland in your life? Robin Camp. Have I celebrated Liberation Day in Holland? No. No, I have not. I'm sure there's a litany of local holidays in different countries of the world I've never celebrated. In fact, there's also a litany of list of holidays that I know about that come from places where I either live or were born that I do not celebrate. In fact, if I could get rid of all holidays, I probably would. Most of them don't make any sense, and they're just there for commercialization and people to spend money. So, why do you think the majority of high-profile crypto influencers on Twitter and YouTube are ignoring KDACAD, or should I just fill my boots with XRP and Cardano? I think it's fill your bags. I mean, unless you have really big feet, then maybe you want to fill your boots. I don't know. But good question, Andrew. Look, you could say this about a lot of assets. I think there's there's a good amount of interesting assets that exist that don't have influencer support. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. One, lots of influencers are paid direct. Some companies decide they don't want to pay influencers. So they want this to happen naturally. But most influencers, while they may, I can almost guarantee you there's probably some influencers that own KDACAD. They're just not talking about it because no one's paid them to do it. Now, and there's also influencers that may talk about it and they're not paid, but their bags are big enough where they want to help out their own bags, right? They want that thing to increase because, well, they own it. I think the main answer here, however, is simply that it's not as well known as some of these other assets. Simple as that. Cardano at some point wasn't talked about by influencers. Neither was XRP. At some point, though, it became big enough. It had a big enough move. People made enough money, whatever the case may be, or they were paying, and it started to be talked about. So I don't really see that as an issue per se. In fact, there are assets that do quite well, that are doing great things, that asset price is appreciating, that have never been mentioned by influencers and never will. And that's also fine. So in my opinion, I wouldn't fill my boots or bags with XRP or Cardano. But that's my opinion. I wouldn't buy one of either of those assets. XRP, I'd have to say, aside from, the current ongoing SEC battle, et cetera, actually has a verified use case. And that's quick and cheap movement of assets between exchanges. KDACAD can do the same thing. It's just not at the same amount of exchanges. So the utility is less currently. Cardano, I'd have to sit here for hours to try and scratch my head to figure out what the use case is there. But that's me. Funny enough, you may be seeing Cardano on Coinmetroids at some point. Again, we don't necessarily list things because I like them or not list them because I don't, which is, I think, a good point about Coinmetro. I mean, we do like to say we're transparent. We do like to say that we try and do things the way they should be done, and listening to one person's opinion is not really necessarily how things should be done. Good morning, Kevin. Are there any specific milestones you'd like to see Coinmetro achieve by the end of 2022? World domination? I mean, that would be nice. No. In reality, I think what I want to see is a more mature company than I saw at the end of 2021. You can kind of read into that how you want. That can mean more resources. That can mean more streamlined processes. That can mean better onboarding experience. That can mean more focus on the fact that we want to be the best exchange in many ways, especially in how we treat our clients. That can mean more volumes. That can mean all of that all together. If we can continue to be better overall, year on, year out, then I'm happy. We don't have to achieve a specific number goal. Do we have those goals? Of course we do. Any company, as they mature, is going to set financial goals. They're going to set metrics, right? You need to have goals like that. But when you're asking me personally, I don't necessarily have a number in my head like I want to see volumes at this level. I want to see revenues at this level. I simply want the company to do better. And doing better might mean less revenue one year, but it could mean that we're setting ourselves up for the ability to become a much larger company the year after, etc. So doing better is generally my goal. Comments on KDACAD Drama. Yeah, I figured that one was going to come up. I think it's a CADX drama more so than a KDACAD drama, to be honest. My opinion, without going too far into this, because we could really go off on a tangent on this one, and I'm trying to keep these shows to 30 minutes. I've been unsuccessful as of date. We're already 26 minutes in, though I was 5 minutes late, so we're about 21 minutes in, roughly. People make Medium posts. People also take data and then interpret data. And I've had a few communications with people inside of Telegram, for example, that, oh, here's a snapshot of a block explorer for Cadena, right? So a snapshot of chain web, basically, that's showing this information, and this is what that information means. Well, we've had talks about this in the past in reference to Parsec. If you guys remember when we talked about Parsec, someone asked me what's interesting about Parsec, and I said, well, there's a lot of data, open source data, that anyone can gain access to on the blockchain. But it's meaningless if you don't know how to interpret and then apply that data. We can also take kind of hints from the mainstream media discussions over the last few years, the fake news discussions. You can have access to a lot of information, and that information itself can be legitimate, but the interpretation of that information can be absolutely inaccurate and create myth truths. And it happens all the time. And so I don't take my cues from someone's Medium posts. I don't take my cues from a snapshot of public data. I take my cues from actual, irrefutable evidence. And I have to say that in the most part of this entire endeavor, I haven't seen any. I've seen instances, and an instance where a business decision was made. The community didn't like that business decision. The company went back and changed its decision and tried to explain why they did it, and then made a mea culpa and made changes because they did it. I don't see necessarily them saying or portraying guilt. And if they do, I can tell you from a business standpoint, I can believe in a decision I make, but if 60% of my clients say it was stupid, I may come back and say, well, you know what, I agree with you, and I'm going to go back on that decision. I may still not think it was a stupid decision, but I'm going to make a business decision to change it. And so I think there's a lot of complexities in this CADX situation that people don't understand or jump to conclusions on, both on the let's say pro and con side. As it stands right now, I would not place Cadena and CADX in the same bucket. Yes, there is also rumors about this or that or the other, or I think I know the truth behind the relationship between those two entities. I'm not necessarily going to share that today. It's not mine to share. But I don't see any type of refutable evidence that tells me that there's some type of conspiracy going on between the two entities. I don't even see necessarily culpability on either side. What I do see is our community being frustrated by a lack of transparency, specifically from CADX, which leads me to want to try to get some transparency to be able to make a decision whether or not we want to move forward. I will be very honest with you guys. I like to do that. If we weren't running this business via an open community, I would probably still work with CADX for the very simple reason that we support an infrastructure, and that's a project on the infrastructure that can help the underlying infrastructure. But given the circumstances, we've put that on pause. But with Cadena, I don't think those two things are mutually exclusive. In fact, I think I have a call with Cadena roughly in about 2.5 hours. So talks continue there. Hopefully that's a decent enough summary. I want to piggyback off the Cadena question. What about research funds, et cetera? They must know about Cadena and the tech, right? That's their job after all. How could they have missed it? Well, you know, these memes about like Bitcoin at 3K, nobody wants to buy it. And then Bitcoin at 50K, everybody's in line. Well, don't think those are just retail guys in line. I also made the comment before about if you're trying to get into the market now and you have a limit order at 25K, that doesn't mean you shouldn't have a limit order at 40K. Institutions may say, look, Cadena looks like a great buy. And then there's some market turmoil, Cadena falls, and they go, okay, well, I'm willing to either buy at, I don't know, X price that we haven't reached yet to the downside, or I'm buying once it breaks, 28 euros. Institutions don't necessarily care about that gap because they're in it for the long haul. They're not thinking about, oh, if I buy now and it goes to 28. No. They want a surety that they want to reduce their risk. So buying, let's say, I'm just throwing a figure out here. Don't start putting limit orders at this price. But what if I were to buy at 180 and even if it just goes back to 3, I'm making a profit and I can get out, right? If it gets to 28, yeah, great, but it might not. But if it gets there, I'll buy right above that because it breaks out and I expect it to go to X or Y, whatever. So it's not that there are definitely funds that are invested in Cadena. I met a few of them at the Cadena event in Miami, and they are not small funds. They obviously bought probably much lower than the current price, and they're still supporting Cadena. And there will be new funds that come in. Just because price is where it is doesn't mean there isn't massive money flowing in and out, right? It's always an ebb and flow. If you have 10 million flowing out, you need to have 10 million flowing in to stabilize price at its current price. There's always buyers, and there's definitely funds. So I don't think they've missed it. Some of the big boys might be waiting on the sidelines. Maybe they haven't heard of it either. Just because tech is good and tech has been proven doesn't mean people invest in that tech until there's some factor that pushes them over. Everybody has their rules, and potentially it hasn't met their requirements yet. Kevin, the XM price is killing me. When Moon, please fix. Yeah, well, market is what market is. I'm not worried. I'm not worried in the slightest. I think it's natural for markets that get stalled to pull back to find, buying support. So great. The only way you can move higher is to find buy support. And if we can find it at lower prices, then that's amazing. That's an amazing opportunity. So the market will fix itself. I don't need to do anything except continue on and try to make Coinmetro the best business that it can be. When do you expect to power up the burn mechanisms? I think we may see some initial signs of those burn mechanisms within this quarter. I'm going to take maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and then you guys know you can hit me up on Telegram. Kevin, why does CM grow so slowly compared to exchanges like FTX that launched 1 to 2 years after CM? Well, CM has been growing slowly because we've adhered to rules that apply to finance in general, and we've tried to do things the right way rather than, onboarding everybody. And then once we're slapped on the wrist or fined, trying to figure out how we go backwards. Also, something like FTX, imagine FTX was, Sam, who founded FTX, was already worth several hundred million when he opened FTX from his arbitrage days when he was arbing Bitcoin between, I think it was China and Hong Kong, which I believe actually, what's his name from, what's our friend's name there from the big, geez, I'm going to forget the name of the company. Jesus. It's like one of those senior moments. Anyway, he wasn't the only one doing that. I guess I'll throw it out there. And so, yeah, having that large nest egg definitely helped. But they did things very similar to what Binance did, which is a common thing in a nuanced market that isn't regulated. You're probably doing something wrong, but until someone tells you it's wrong, you just do it. And we took a different approach. And I honestly think that over time, think of this as a tortoise and hare. FTX, Binance, etc., Huobi are the hare. We may be the tortoise, but you guys know how that fable ended. The time frame, however, is hard to judge because it really depends on implementation. And you are seeing these different Binance satellites, Binance France, Binance US. My assumption is still the same, that the Binance parent, where most of that volume happens and where most of their clients sit, is still not going to be with us. Will they be able to transfer those clients? Will they be able to move those clients into these regulated arms is a major question. And will those clients want to move into regulated arms? Another major question. What do you think about increasing price floor of XAM by 20% to counter the inflation since the ICO in 2017? XAM would be marketed. There is discussion about price floors inside of Coinmetro as you type that. I'll leave it at that. You'll probably hear some more information about that over the coming weeks and months. Are you confident in the upcoming September fundraise? Will the current financial climate negatively affect this? I am confident in an upcoming fundraise. Based on the money we're raising right now, we don't necessarily need to go September. It could be October, it could be November, it could be January. But I am confident that we are going to be able to put together an amazing deck, amazing metrics, and backed up by our amazing team, we're going to be able to raise a significant amount of money. And I don't think the current crypto market or even the current market at large is a negative to that fundraise. Thoughts on Credo tokenomics? Say Sean Combs instead of Combs. My thoughts on Credo. So there's a lot of talk, obviously, about all the tokens that are going to be coming into the market and the fact that that's going to devalue the currency, blah, blah, blah. So I've said this before, I'll say it again. Those are rational economic thoughts that you're trying to apply to a relatively irrational market. And in a market that's built on people buying, for the most part, based on emotion rather than rational financial thought. Yes, that will weigh on price. Yes, it has weighed on price based on kind of sell the news, buy the fact. I'll reverse it for this one. I still believe in Credo. I think it is the only right now. It's the only tokenized custodial company that I know of. It's the only company going down the path that I think is the future, which is non-custodial wallets, meaning you can be at a centralized order book, and there's no reason to talk about not your keys, not your crypto. I'm gonna end it there, guys. I do have this. I didn't do any of these. I'm gonna run through these topics real quick and give you my thoughts on them. Hopefully, somebody will be interested. I don't know. I'm gonna take 5 minutes to do this. Let's see if I can do it. It's kind of like, well, how many things I have? 1, 2, 3. There's 5 things, so a minute each. Let's see if I can do this. Ready? First one on the list: Elon Musk buying Twitter. Well, the biggest Twitter troll buying Twitter. It's amusing on one level. It's interesting on another, and it is a bit scary on another level. What I will say is that if there's been 500 million, obviously, not obviously, there's been 500 million committed by Binance actually to the buy of Twitter, which to me raises a couple eyebrows. One, I don't think that helps Elon's bid. The fact that he's taking money from prominent businesses that obviously would like to control the narrative might actually lead to an issue with the FCC. So when they go to the Federal Trade or the FTC, when they go to the Federal Trade Commission to try to get approval, some of these people that are putting up money, including people like Binance, may actually lead to that deal getting squashed. So we'll have to see what happens. California governor signs executive order to promote crypto. I actually haven't read about this one, so this is news to me. Interesting, because Democratic governor wouldn't necessarily have expected that, though he is kind of losing. It doesn't look like he's going to win any re-election in any office at this point with the way that California has been managed. Maybe it's a way to pull some of the heat off of things that he's getting, accused of, and or people think that he's not doing well. I actually have to look into that one myself. Haven't read about that one. Anonymous hacker claimed to have hacked Russian service provider Kiwi. Well, hackers hacking stuff. I'm not sure that's really the biggest news. Obviously, in war right now, there's lots of hacks happening, both in Russia, Ukraine, the Western governments as well, because cyber war is a thing, and it does happen. Number 5, SEC nearly doubles the crypto enforcement unit. Those type of headlines I always find interesting, right? Because what if they had 5 people and now they have 10? Who cares? If they had 10,000 and now they have 20, that's a big news story. I don't think they had that many in crypto enforcement. They might have had hundreds, maybe 1,000. Now they have 2,000. Does that really make a difference? No, not really. What it does say is that they obviously understand that crypto is not going anywhere, and they need to understand how they can track and trace it. It also puts additional ramifications on regulated crypto exchanges, and it also, for a brief moment in time, provides a bit more reason to some people to use non-regulated exchanges, which can lead to non-regulated exchanges getting more funds and then having issues, and that coming back so that the regulator says crypto exchanges are a bad thing, even though they kind of started the waterfall to the non-regulated exchanges in the first place. So to me, that news may end up leading in a year or two from now to news that's trying again to paint crypto in a bad light, wherein that they caused the issue themselves. So there you go, guys. Have a great weekend. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the great questions. I wasn't able to get through all the questions, which is cool and not cool at the same time. please tag me on Telegram at Kevin Murcko or tweet me at Kevin Murcko, and I will try to attend to your questions. I will see you on Telegram over the weekend. I'm still going to try to get into Discord. Haven't really figured Discord out yet, but I'm trying. Spend time with friends and family this weekend. If you can't do it physically, do it virtually. Hopefully you can now do it physically. Most of the world can now do it physically. So, when you're sitting there after dinner listening to Uncle George talk about random nonsense that no one cares about, make sure you tap him on the shoulder and say that, the cure for everything he's talking about is to buy XCM. And I don't know if you want to look at prices this weekend. You probably will, regardless of what I say. You're going to check your phone every 13 seconds. I would just say that, prices are going to go up, and they're going to come down, then they're going to go down, then they're going to come up. It's going to be a volatile probably weekend, next couple of weeks, maybe even next couple of months. But we've seen this before. We've seen much worse than this. I would suggest sit on your hands. If you made a decision, trust in that decision. If you bought something at a higher price and thought it was a good buy, well, it's a much better buy now than it was then. So talk to you guys next week. Have a good weekend. Cheers.